What's good, popping y'all? It's your girl, Serenity Renee. And in today's video, I'm going to give you guys 20 Netflix suggestions that you should watch during this quarantine because I know everybody's a little bored in quarantine, and these are just some binge-worthy shows that I feel like everyone should watch. Let's get right into the video. So the first show is Good Girls. Good Girls is basically a show about three moms who don't have the best paying jobs, don't have the best lives, and they basically decide to rob a store, and they think like it would be super easy. But then after they rob a store, like a bunch of stuff happens, and they end up being entwined with a drug lord gangbanger and some other stuff. There's some good love scenes. It has some good action, comedy, and just touch on serious subjects. And it has 2 to 3 seasons, so I think you should watch it. I honestly give it a 9.5 out of 10. Like, it's actually really funny, and I can't wait for a season, I think 3 to come on Netflix. Number 2 is That 70s Show. I know that's a little bit basic for some of y'all. Y'all finna be like, oh my god, basic. I know some of y'all finna come for me, but hear me out. That 70s Show has some good character development. It talks about like young love, and also like talks about like, you know, like sex, like basically like it just shows how teens act. Like, it's not like super like they have this perfect life, and like, you know, it's 420 friendly, you know. There's some funny moments, a lot of good character development, and just like, you know, it's just something that keeps you going and something that you would always want to watch all the time. Like, I find it super funny, and I really like it. Also, each season has about 25 episodes, which is really good for me because I'm a person who will just binge watch a show, like, because most Netflix shows nowadays have like maybe 13 episodes per season, and this has like 25 episodes. So like, these are for the people who are really dedicated to the show, and I've already watched it 2 times to its entirety, and I'm watching it for my 3rd time. So I really think you should watch That 70s Show. I really do give it out of 10 for what it is. So yeah. Number 3 is The Midnight Gospel. So these are for your open-minded, big-brain people. Like, you cannot watch this if you have a small mind, and I'm really sorry, but if you have a small mind, you cannot watch it. And I'm sorry for you small-minded people, but you really have to have an open mind and really have to think about it. Also, I suggest you watch this while you're high. So this show is basically about this one character, like, going to these different planets and going on these, like, crazy, trippy, like, adventures. But in the midst of them, all this crazy stuff going on, they're, like, talking about real-life subjects. Like, they talk about death in one episode. They talk about, like, weed being legal. Like, they talk about, like accepting death, and like they just talk about some really deep stuff. While in the midst of it is a bunch of crazy stuff. So if you like trippy shows and you also like talking about deep stuff, this show is for you. Like, if you like the mind, philosophy, and that type of stuff, this is definitely for you. So I suggest you go watch it. Number 4 is BoJack Horseman. Now, BoJack Horseman has a really special place in my heart. So also, it's a cartoon, so it's like an adult cartoon, like something on the lines of like something like you would watch. Like, an adult cartoon would be like something like Family Guy, American Dad, something like on that vibe. So it's basically about this horse, and he lives in Hollywood. Like, he's an actor, and he basically, like, his life has been downhill, and he's basically making a bunch of bad choices while also, like, living the life of an actor and being in Hollywood. And, like, he deals with mental health, he, like, deals with addiction and, like, drug addiction, alcoholism, like all this stuff, also dealing with his life, and he also deals with childhood trauma. So like, it's a really good show while also being in a cartoon and a bunch of silly stuff, and I feel like it depicts mental health better than like 13 Reasons Why or something like that. So if you really like that type of stuff, I feel like you should go watch it, and it's also really, really funny. Number 5 is Arrested Development. Now, Arrested Development is funny AF. Like, it's really funny. So it's basically about this guy, and his dad's like the boss of this company, and like in the first episode, basically like his dad doesn't like promote him or whatever, and he's like upset. But then in the second episode, his dad basically gets arrested for doing some shady stuff, and like the one guy who didn't get like, you know, promoted or whatever, he has to keep his whole family together, like his whole family together, while his dad, who's the main source of income in their whole family, is in jail. And like, it's super funny, a bunch of crazy adventures, a bunch of crazy stuff, so you should definitely go watch it. And number 6 is Black Mirror. Now, Black Mirror is crazy AF. Now, this is also for you big-minded people, but like, I feel like small-minded people can still watch it. So each episode is like a different episode. It's like its own thing. Like, each episode doesn't correlate or connect to one another like a normal show. Like, each episode is in a different world, different scenario, like a totally different thing. Like, none of the episodes connect to each other. But basically, like, each episode like deals with something, and it's kind of crazy. Like, I remember in one episode, like, I can't even tell you what the show's about since it doesn't like correlate, but basically each episode has some crazy ending, some crazy like twist and turn. Like, I remember in one episode, this girl was a kidnapper killer, and they basically, like, erased her brain so she could not remember anything that happened, like, before. She basically wakes up in the house where she did all this stuff, like, and they basically make her relive her day, and she basically wakes up really scared because she's scared of what she did. And then, like, she kindly pieces it all together and figures out what she did. They make her watch what she did and watch all the stuff she did, and then they, like, erase her mind every day and make her relive her life. Like, bro, there's so many crazy episodes, so many twists and turns. So if you like a show that really you don't have to keep, like, you do not have to start from, like, point A to and then end at point Z, then this is a show for you. Like, you can literally start in season 5 or you start in season 4, and, like, you're never gonna miss anything because each episode is something different. I give this a 10 out of 10. I definitely recommend you should go watch this. Number 7 is Trinkets. So Trinkets is basically about these 3 girls. Like, they're, like, from, like, just different lives. Like, one is, like, basically a klepto. Like, she just steals all the time, right? And she has a stepmom, and, like, she has a bunch of issues. One, like, comes from, like, a single mother household without her dad, and then one, like, has, like, her life basically made for her. Like, she has a perfect life. And then basically come together, and, like, they steal or whatever. And they also go on, like, a bunch of adventures, and they're just, like, these 3 girls who just are from 3 different worlds, and they basically become friends. And, like, a bunch of stuff core lines out of that. So, yeah, and I think this is only 1 season, but it is really good for what it is, and I give this a good 8.5 out of 10. Number 8, Weeds. Weeds is funny. I'm sorry, it is funny. So basically it's about this suburban mom who basically sells weed to all of her crazy neighbors, and, like, you see the lives of all her neighbors, and she basically trying to just keep her money in order since her husband died. Funny life. It's just really funny. It, like, talks about real life. It shows, like, you know, her dealing with her husband's death. Funny. Good show. I give this a good 8 out of 10. 9, All the Right Places. So this is a movie and this is not a show compared to all the other ones. So this is basically a movie about this girl whose sister recently died, and then this boy who's going through, like, his own mental stuff. They basically come together for the school project. They basically come together for the school project, and then they end up, like, dating, and, like, they go through this good life, and a bunch of stuff happens in between. I feel like it's really good, and it did make me cry. It did make me cry. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. It made me cry. And it shows, like, how people deal with, like, death, mental health, and stuff. So I definitely do recommend it to you. Number 10 is The Good Place. So basically, The Good Place is crazy, and I love this show. So basically, there's this main character, Eleanor, and she basically ends up in the good place. Like, she dies and goes into the afterlife. She ends up in the good place. Until Eleanor finds out that this girl that has the same name as her and died at the same time as her, ends up in the bad place. And they're supposed to be switched. Like, Eleanor, the main character, is supposed to be in the bad place, and Eleanor, the side character, is supposed to be in the good place. But she basically ends up in the good place. She basically ends up in the bad place. And they all try to figure out why they're in the good place, bad place. It's good, and it gives you, like, a good, like, understanding of what, like, it kind of comforts you about, like, death and stuff. Like, death is inevitable, and I think it's just a really good show. Number 11, Shameless. Now, Shameless is something dear to my heart. Now, this is more of a very serious show, and if you have, like, a lot of childhood trauma, and, like you have a lot of, like, I don't know, if you just have a lot of unresolved issues and you had, like, a really bad childhood with your parents, this can be triggering. So I do give this a little trigger warning. But, like, it's basically about this family, this dysfunctional family that basically is living real life while their dad's basically an alcoholic, drug addict. Like, bro, their dad's not a good dad, and their mom's bipolar and is also on some other stuff, and basically they're, like, this family who's trying to, like, keep it all together. And yeah, it's, like, real life, and, like, if you want something more serious and that really shows, like, real life of people in the struggle, this is a really good show. And I honestly give this a 10 out of 10. Did make me cry, did make me, like, really feel some pain in my heart, so I do give it a 10 out of 10. Number 12, Girl Boss. Now, this show is good, it's funny, I love it. So it's basically this girl who's basically struggling to live on her own and, like, you know, just trying to live her life, trying to navigate her life. But then she ends up, like, finding this jacket and, like, this, like, thrift store or whatever, and then she ends up upcycling it, and it's worth thousands of dollars, and she basically makes a store out of that while also dealing with her life and her friends and stuff, and a bunch of, like, drama, like, love life. And I definitely do recommend it. I feel like it like shows, like, real life while also, like, you know, giving you, like, the little fairy tale life of, like, what life would be like, I guess. I give this definitely, like, a 8 out of 10. 13 is Between. So Between stars Jeanette McCurdy. If you don't know who Jeanette McCurdy is, she's the girl who plays Sam and Cat, and also Sam and iCarly. But basically, they live in this town, like, this small town. Like, they just live in this town. And basically, all of a sudden, like, they wake up, and everyone over 21 ends up dying. Like, if you're over the age of 21, you're dead. And basically, like, they're trying to figure out, like why they're dying and stuff, while also being closed off from society, closed off from the rest of the world, and, like, the government is, like, basically taking over their town. It's more like an end of the world type movie, and, like, they can't leave the town, and they only have certain foods, and, like, if they come in contact with someone who's older than 21, who's not in that town, and they're healthy, like, they'll kill them, basically. I give the show a 10 out of 10. I feel like it needed more seasons, had some good suspense, and I definitely do recommend it to you. Like, if you're gonna watch this, you need to watch it now. Number 14 is 7 Seconds, and this show made me cry. Like, I'm not even joking, this show made me cry. So, it's basically about this black kid, and he basically is riding his bike home, and then he ends up getting hit by this white cop. And the white cop ends up calling his buddies, telling them, like, he just hit a black kid, like, he killed him. And then they basically try to cover it up while his mom's trying to look for him, you know. It has to do with, like, the Black Lives Matter movement, like, you know, being killed by cops, cop brutality, and stuff like that. Like, you guys definitely need to watch this. Whether you're black, white, Hispanic, whatever, you definitely need to watch this. It really did hit me in the feels, so if you're ready to cry, get in this. But you will be yelling at your TV. You will be invested because this show is so, so good. Number 15 is Dead to Me. Now, oh my God. I found the show, I think last year, the year before last, I don't remember. I think 2018 I found the show. It's either 2018, 2019, and oh my God, this show's so good. Basically, this girl's husband dies, and he's hit by this person, and they don't really know who the person is. And she's, like, trying to figure it out. Like, she's trying to figure out, like, who killed her husband. Ends up being this lady, and they end up becoming friends, only to find out it's her husband's killer. While there's also a bunch of drama, a bunch of stuff that goes on during the show, I definitely do recommend it. 2 seasons, super great, 10 out of 10, I definitely would recommend. Number 16 is One Day at a Time. And One Day at a Time is basically a show about this Cuban family basically living in America or whatever. And they're just living their lives while going through, like, stuff. Like, they actually deal with, like, mental health. Because, like, in the Hispanic culture or any, like, culture who's, like, any person of color's culture, like, they don't really talk about mental health. Just mental health, PTSD, the LGBTQ plus community becoming a legal citizen. Like, there's some really good topics in here. And honestly, Netflix should not have canceled this. And they really did miss a big hit on this. But it does have, I think, 3 seasons, and I definitely do recommend that you watch it. 10 out of 10, definitely would recommend. Number 17, The End of the Effing World. So The End of the Effing World is basically about these 2 teens, one who believes he's a serial killer, and one who's just a rebellious teen, and they basically run away together. And in the midst of this, there's a murder mystery, like, there's just a bunch of stuff that happens. Has 2 seasons. I definitely recommend. Like, I can't really get into it without spoiling the show, but this had me on the edge of my seat, and, like, I literally binge watched this, like, in one day. Like, the first season, I literally binge watched it in one day. And when the second season came out, I binge watched it in another day. Like, I was so invested. So if you want a show like that, I definitely do recommend The End of the Effing World. I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. 18 is How to Sell Drugs Online Fast. So this show is in another language, so you do have to have, like, your, like, subtitles on or whatever. But it is really good. So basically, this boy has his girlfriend at the time, ends up breaking up with him, and she ends up getting with this new guy, and she ends up getting into drugs. And then since she's into drugs and, like, everyone around him is into drugs, he basically ends up making this online drugstore and getting tied in with gangbangers and drug dealers. This is really funny, really good. I give this a 8.5 out of 10 because it only has 1 season, but it will have you on the edge of your seat. I definitely do recommend it. Number 19 is the Santa Clarita Diet, and that's basically where this lady basically wakes up, and she's a cannibal, basically. She, like, wants to eat raw meat. Like, she wants to eat, like, she ends up eating humans and, like, killing people. Like, she goes from being this normal, like, realtor, whatever, having a normal life and a normal kid, like, a normal cookie-cutter family life, and then ends up being, like, a cannibal. Like, it's super crazy, super wild, and funny, and a little bit weird. I definitely do give this an 8.5 out of 10, and I definitely do recommend you watch it if you want something that's funny and will have you on the edge of your seat, but also a little gross, because, you know, you get to see her, like, eat all the humans and stuff. Not my type of vibe, but I definitely do recommend. Number 20 is Grace and Frankie. This is my last one. You know, sorry to say, if you want me to do a part 2, comment some shows that you think I missed. But basically, Grace and Frankie are these 2 women, and they're basically, like, in their, like, 60s or 50s or whatever, and they basically find out that their husbands that they've been married to for over 40 years basically have had an affair with each other. So their husbands basically end up gay, and they're dating each other while they've been married to them, and they end up divorcing them at the same time. And, you know, Grace and Frankie, they don't really like each other, but then they end up becoming friends, you know, because their husband cheated on them with each other. and it's really good. There's some really good twists and turns, and also like a lot of real juicy love stories. And I love the character development in this, and I definitely do recommend this. I do give it an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching my YouTube video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!